We spend so much time talking about maladaptive schemas, but did you know there's actually positive schemas? Stay tuned and I'll tell you all about them. Hey everyone, Jessica O'Garr, clinical psychologist for the Psych Collective, and I want to talk to you about the positive schemas that we have. Now, I went on a bit of a hunt. I stumbled across the idea of positive schemas on a random journal article a year or two ago. Couldn't really find anything to substantiate it and kind of left it alone. Certainly never came across any reference of positive schemas in any of the schema therapy training that I've done. But when I was in the preparation for writing my book, which we published earlier this year, I wanted to find these again, because if we're constantly talking about everything that is wrong with us by these maladaptive schemas, it gets a bit kind of down in the dumps with it. But what I really like is the idea of using the positive schemas to actually take more like a strengths-based approach towards therapy. So you can use those positive schemas to help kind of manage and balance out some of the more negative schemas, right? So I finally found the original source of where these positive schemas came from, and it was a guy called John Philip Lewis who, as I understand it, did his PhD in Singapore, I think, where what he did is he took the Young Schema Questionnaire short form version, which has 90 questions in it that measures the traditional 18 maladaptive schemas, and he basically reverse worded all of the questions, right? From that, they did a whole pile of fancy statistical factor analysis, blah, 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 and they were able to come up with the list of the positive schemas. So largely, the list of adaptive schemas mirrors the list of maladaptive schemas. Because of some duplications and some kind of statistical misfit, they got it down to what they're calling the Young Positive Schema Questionnaire, which has 56 items, so 56 questions, measuring 14 positive schemas, all right? And you'll see kind of where the matchup is. So from this list, okay, the first one talks about emotional fulfillment, the belief that you have someone in your life who is able and willing to meet your needs. That would be the opposite of, say, emotional deprivation, where you don't believe that you have people in your life to meet your needs. But if you then have this positive schema, excuse me, of emotional fulfillment, you can use that to maybe work towards some of the other maladaptive schemas, say, balanced out with social isolation, maladaptive schema or something like that. The second positive schema was success. So the belief that you are capable and competent in daily life, which would balance out failure and defectiveness. Empathic consideration, the fact that you take the opinions of other people into consideration, that you accept that other people are entitled to their own opinions, which would balance out an entitlement schema. Optimism, which is the belief that things will generally turn out for the best. That one's pretty obvious. That balances out the pessimism schema. Emotional openness, the willingness to express your feelings in front of others as opposed to emotional constriction or emotional inhibition. Self-compassion, the willingness to treat yourself with kindness and forgiveness as opposed to punitiveness. The developed self. Now, this one specifically says the capacity to function independently from your parents. And I've shown this list to patients before because it's in the book, right? And people are like, well, I'm developed self, I can function independently of anyone. Why is it just specifically referring to parents? And that's because it balances out. It's kind of the opposite of the enmeshment schema. And the enmeshment schema talks about the enmeshment with the parents, and hence developed self is just focusing on you've developed beyond and got independence from your parents. Social belonging, feeling that you belong and are accepted within groups. Healthy self-control, your ability to set goals and maintain routine and be disciplined. Realistic expectation, the capacity to set achievable goals and accept yourself as good enough, which helps balance out things like unrelenting standards. Self-directedness, the belief that, it's worded as the belief that your opinion is the most important. Now, that's not the same thing as entitlement, but that's more the sense of you know yourself, you have a developed sense of identity, and you know your own mind. So if you're wearing a dress and someone goes, oh, I don't really like that, the developed self is, or that self-directedness is being able to kind of say, well, that's okay that you don't like it, but I really like this dress, so I'm going to keep wearing this dress, right? So it's not entitlement or that kind of arrogance, it's just the capacity to know your own mind and be okay within your own choices. Healthy self-interest, the willingness to set aside time for self-care and meeting your needs, which would be the alternate to self-sacrifice, right? Stable attachment, the belief that your relationships are stable and enduring, as opposed to an abandonment schema. And the last one is around competence. So your belief of your ability to manage daily tasks and to get stuff done and to look after yourself, which would be the opposite to the dependency incompetence schemas. Now, I got really, really excited when I found this list, right? And I was like, yes, this is something I'm going to start doing with all of my patients that I do schema therapy work with. And I really like this idea of being able to balance out the two of them. And it was really, really difficult to get my hands on the actual questionnaire. So in the PhD, if you've got access to journal databases, you can find this. The reference for it is in the book and also on our webpage. If you go to topics, schema therapy questionnaires, there's a blog page and it's got the details in it there. And so I finally managed to contact the lead author, John Philip Lewis, whose PhD this was. And I'm like, please, can I have a copy of it, which he shared with me. And then I said, look, this is what I do. I have the Psych Collective. I educate people on schema. Can I share it? And he said, no. I don't quite understand the rationale behind that, but it's his work and I'm sure he has his own reasons. What he did agree to, though, was for people to directly contact him to ask for a copy of both the questionnaire, like as the Word document, and then also the scoring template that you use in an Excel spreadsheet that puts all the totals together for you. And thus he gave me permission to publish his email address so that people can contact him. So for those of you out there who are interested in assessing your positive schemas, or if for the clinicians out there who really see the value in using this with your patients, you need to email him. Again, the email address is on the blog page that I mentioned, and explain, kind of found it through the Psych Collective and please can I have a copy and that. And I've had people who have done it with a little bit of back and forth and eventually we're able to actually get the copy come through. I'm hoping that if we nag him enough, he might just finally cave and let me put it up on the website, because I think that would be incredibly useful. He's done an amazing job putting this together and it's got a lot of clinical validity. But that's how you can get access to it if you need it. For further information, check out the book or on the website, and we'll see you next time. Thanks guys, see ya.